Hi there and welcome to my podcast. This is James's podcast, episode 7. Today I'm going to be talking about how we use the past perfect tense. The past perfect tense. This is something that over the years many students have asked me to explain, and people still today have difficulty understanding, when should I use the past perfect tense? Why can I not just use the past simple tense? And they try to use it, but often they're going to use it in the wrong situations where it's not necessary. So I'm going to be giving you some examples from my own life. So I live in Turkey, and when I came to Turkey and started teaching here, in classes with different people, different students, I would often be asked questions like this. They would ask, did you learn any Turkish words before you came to Turkey? So let's just look at that question. That question can be broken into two parts. Did you learn any Turkish words is one. And before you came to Turkey is 2. So we have 2 actions in the past. 2 actions, both of them in the past, both of them finished. And this is where we might use the past perfect. So in this situation, we could rephrase the question to include the past perfect and say, had you learned any Turkish words? Had you learned any Turkish words before you came to Turkey? And this is because we use the past perfect together with the past simple. Had you learned any Turkish words? That's past perfect. Before you came to Turkey, that is past simple. Okay, so why are we using the past perfect in this situation? Well, let's think about it like this. A person moves from one country to another. So that's one action. And we want to know, what did you do before you moved to that other country that would maybe make you ready, that would prepare you for living in that new country? So it might be learning some of the language. It might be learning a bit about the culture, and that kind of thing. And so they would ask me the question, and then I would maybe give them some extra information, and I would tell them, yes, I had learned 1 or 2 words. I had learned how to say hello, how to say please and thank you, and I had also eaten Turkish food. And one more piece of information that I often tell to my students is, when I moved to Turkey, that was not the first time coming to Turkey for me. So what I mean is, I visited Turkey first for a holiday as a tourist, and then later I came to Turkey again to live. So in this situation, again, I might use the past perfect, and here I can say, I had already visited Turkey before I moved to Turkey. So the reason that we're using the past perfect here is because we want people to see that something happened in the past before another action in the past. Okay, so coming to Turkey first, just as a tourist, just to visit for a short time on a holiday, means that I had some idea about the country, about the people, about the culture, and so that when I later moved to Turkey, I knew what to expect from the country that I was coming to. And I think the problem that people often have is that they don't know what situations to use the past perfect in. And so what they often do is they try to use it in situations where it just isn't necessary. But one situation that I think is a good one is when we talk about child geniuses. And I'm going to give you some information about one very famous child genius, and that is Mozart. You probably all know who Mozart was. He was a famous composer, and you probably know that Mozart was a child genius, and so that means he was able to do things at a very young age that happened before the usual time, or before the time that we would usually expect somebody to be able to do those things, to have those abilities. And that is where the past perfect comes in. Okay, so the first thing that I will tell you using the past perfect is that by the time he died at the age 35, he had composed about 600 pieces of music. So let's look at that again. He dies at the age 35, which is quite an early age to die. And before he died, he had composed about 600 pieces of music. Okay, so we use by the time as a marker to say everything happens before that time. Everything happened before he came to the age of 35 and died. All of the 600 pieces of music he created before that time. What else did he do in his lifetime? Well, by the time he was 3 years old, he had already learned to play two instruments, the harpsichord and the violin. So again, we're using the past perfect to talk about something that we do before the expected time. Okay, it's quite amazing to be able to play two instruments by the age of 3 years old. We're going to use the past perfect to tell you that this happened not after 3 years old, but before 3 years old. Okay, when he became a little bit older, the age of 6 years old. So when he became 6 years old, or by the time he was 6 years old, he had travelled around Europe with his father and his sister to play music. Okay, again, something that most people would not do at such a young age in their life. They might do it when they become an adult and they are a professional musician. It's their job. We expect, yes, that might be normal to travel around the world, but he had travelled around the world by the time he was 6 years old. Okay. He had written his first symphony by the time he was 8 years old. So again, he's doing something really extraordinary, really a really huge accomplishment and achievement at a time that is, well, earlier than most people would achieve this. Okay, so let's just go back and just remind ourselves, we're using the past perfect, but we don't just use the past perfect, we need to use it together with a past simple action. Two actions in the past. The past perfect action happens first, and the past simple action happens later. I hope that this was useful for you, and I hope that you go away and try to use the past perfect in those kind of situations, like in the examples I've given you today. Thanks so much for listening, and I hope to hear you at the next one.